Hello, Chef Tom here. Today we're going to talk about 20 ways to help improve your food cost percent. These are in no particular order. Some of them may overlap. Increase sales or decrease spending. A lot of these tips will actually touch on this, but basically, if you're going to improve your food cost percent, you're going to need to either increase your sales or decrease your spending. A lot of these tips will touch on the decrease your spending side of things, whether you do that from finding a better price or just being more efficient with your food. Look at the most expensive items first. When analyzing your food costs, you're going to want to look at the higher price items first, where you're spending most of your money, where most of your business lies. I worked at a restaurant where our number one seller was a beef tenderloin. 75% of our business included it, so it was only natural to look at that first. Don't waste your time on little things right away. I would say that more towards the end, like the little nickel and dime things like flour and sugar and salt. You'll probably identify your problem quicker if you start with the more expensive items. Knowing your par levels as to not over order or under order. If you over order, you're gonna have food rotting away in your coolers. And if you under order, then most likely you're gonna be running to the store to pick up items that is gonna cost you more than if you bought them from a wholesale purveyor. Wholesale purveyors will usually give you a better cost than just going to the grocery store. So knowing your par levels is very key. I'd say it's one of the more important things that you need to just wrap your head around. Imagine your food as just money sitting in your coolers, except that it has the potential of going bad. That's the same way that you really need to think about food, is just money sitting in your cooler that's going to be useless in 1 week if you don't use it. There are maybe some items that aren't useless in a week, but a majority of your produce and meats and items that you've prepped will be bad within 1 week. And that also goes with overprepping and underprepping. If you overprep an item, then you're basically wasting food. The food's just gonna get thrown away. If you underprep items, then you're losing out on sales. Having those additional sales can really help when it comes to improving your food cost percent. Portion control. You wanna make sure that you're portioning everything correctly. If you're giving away too much food, then that's money going out the door. Make sure that everybody knows what the portion sizes are. Make sure everybody's using the correct scoop or measuring device, and everybody knows exactly how much each dish and each item gets. Otherwise, if you're giving them too much, you're basically just throwing away money. If you give them too little, then your recipe is not being followed as intended, and your customers aren't going to be as happy. If everybody knows exactly what the portion size is, then you're going to be consistent. It's always good to be consistent in a restaurant. That way the customers know what they're gonna be getting. They don't come in one time and get this huge portion, and then the next time they come in and they get a little portion, they're gonna be like, what's going on? They're not gonna know what they're gonna get next time they come in, so they might not come in. Also, when it comes to portion control, using a rubber scraper is always good. When it comes down to the bottom of a container, people are not using rubber scrapers. Each portion adds up in the long run, and that could result in a lot of money over a year. Using proper recipes. You'll want to have recipes that are written down that are easily accessible to your employees, so that they can know exactly what you intend the recipe to have. They know how many portions they're going to get out of the recipe. They know the correct measurement of the ingredients of the recipe. That will lead you to be able to have proper portioning. Also, having proper recipes will help you cost out the recipes early, and that'll help you determine a selling price. That's very important for having a good food cost percentage. You're going to want to have proper training of your employees. As a chef, it's always good to have an idea of what's going on around you, what your employees are doing, what's left to be prepped, making the rounds. Just watching how they're cutting food or storing food or cooking food can lead to you coaching your employees. You can stop and show them how to do it. Or if their cooking technique is a little off and they might be burning some food, you don't want to have burnt food, you're not going to serve that, you're going to throw that away, and that's lost money. Or properly storing food, you're going to want to make sure people are labeling and dating things so that you know how old it is. If something's not labeled or dated, you're just guessing, you're like smelling it, you have no idea when it was made, who made it. And as a chef, you can see, okay, well, this is a week old, we're throwing this much away. We need to reevaluate our par levels on this item, and that'll help you save money. Using yield percents and butcher tests, whether you're breaking down like a whole New York strip or a ribeye or a case of tenderloins, using a butcher test, you basically weigh the meat before you start cleaning it, and then you weigh it after you're done cleaning it, and you weigh the scrap, and that'll give you a yield percent, and that will really help you kind of improve how much of a yield percent you're getting on that. We used to have a contest at a place I I worked at. And whoever had the best yield percent in the month got $100. If you're cleaning an $800 case of beef tenderloin every day or every other day, you're watching your yield percent. You're weighing it before you clean it, you're weighing it after you clean it. Then that can give you room for improvement. I got 76% last time and I got 82% this time, and I'm consistently getting better. That's a lot of money that you're saving, especially on higher price items like steaks. Giving $100 out as a contest prize to whoever had the best yield percent is a really good incentive, and it's just a drop in the bucket compared to the amount of money that you save for that month. Waste control. This kind of goes back to making your rounds as a chef and watching what people are doing. And this also kind of plays into yield percents as well. Watching waste control. If you're looking in people's trash cans, or you have a bucket that is specifically for people's like produce waste, you can kind of look in there and be like, okay, well, you're not using this part of the red pepper. You can totally use that for, like, say, diced red peppers, or you're throwing away all these outer leaves of romaine. They don't look bad. Why are you doing that? And then you can kind of have a conversation with your employees, be like, well, you know, I don't want to serve bad food, but I think you're being a little overzealous with the cleaning of the romaine lettuce. It's a good opportunity to have a conversation with your employees. If they know what your expectations are, they're more likely to do what you want. Having a proper selling price and knowing your recipe costs. If you don't know what the recipe costs, then you can't have a proper selling price. That goes into the part of increasing your sales. If you're not charging enough for a certain dish, then you're definitely not going to make your food cost percent. Knowing how to cost out a recipe is very important to determine what a selling price is. If you need to know how to cost out a recipe, I have a video on that. Price shopping and comparison shopping. Make sure that you're looking at the prices and seeing if maybe there's better prices elsewhere, or even with the same company that you're using. Sometimes your pack size, you can get a better deal. Say you're gonna buy 10 pounds of carrots and it's $5 more to get double the amount of carrots. Certain things will last longer than others. Carrots do last a long time. Maybe lettuce is not gonna last long, so it depends on how quickly you're going through things. But knowing how quickly you're going through things is very important for getting the correct pack size, maybe getting a discount, adjusting your menu items. The place where I worked at, where the beef tenderloin was the #1 seller, we sold a 9-ounce steak on top of a bed of cabbage and potatoes. 75% of our business was that item, and I believe it was like $42. One day we decided to add a variation on that exact same menu item. It was the exact same dish, but instead of a 9-ounce steak, it was a 6-ounce steak. Instead of $42, it was $37. So it was $5 cheaper, but it was a third of the size of the steak. And people loved it. People actually started ordering that more than they ordered the 9-ounce variation of that. We saw an instant improvement in our food cost percent. Sometimes people gravitate towards the cheaper item, watching the waste that comes back from the dining room. I was told by a chef once that's the most important thing, is standing by the dish pit when the food's coming back from the dining room to see what people are eating. If you notice a lot of people are not touching a certain item on the plate, then you might as well not be serving that item. Or you can see that your portion sizes are too big. If people are taking a lot of to-go boxes home, then maybe your portion sizes are too big. I kind of like the concept of give people just enough food to make them full but not stuffed. I wouldn't want to see every table bringing a to-go box home. That's a dead sign that your portion sizes are too big. If you notice certain plates are being licked clean, then you know you have a good thing going. Making things from scratch and not ordering pre-made items. If you're making things from scratch, you can generally get them for cheaper. The only cost is having the staff that knows how to make those items. A lot of the restaurants I've worked in make everything from scratch. Having that skill level is very good in your employees to know how to make those kind of items. I've also worked in a couple places where things have not been made from scratch. I worked at a place where we ordered a lot of pre-made pies, and those were very expensive. Compared to what you could do if you made those pies from scratch, you could save a considerable amount of money. Even ordering pie shells can be expensive. It takes more time to make those items, but if you have the staff that knows how to make those things, by using things that you have already, you can make a lot of things from scratch. Inventory awareness. Having a general awareness of what's in your inventory can help you not over order. It can also help you utilize things that might go bad soon. So I saw a box of mushrooms in there. They're gonna go bad soon. We need to use them before they go bad. That's awareness of your inventory. I always make it a point to look at my coolers before I start doing any work, just so I'm aware of what's in the coolers. That can help you from prepping something that's already been done, or it can help you notice things that are gonna go bad that need to be used. Having a general awareness of what's in your coolers and your inventory can help you take care of problems before they become problems. Having a general sense of what you have and what you need before you start prepping can save you a lot of time. You're not gonna prep something that you already have because you didn't see it. Take the time, look through your coolers, be aware of what you have. Freezing items. This also goes along with being aware of what your inventory is. If you notice things are gonna go bad, a lot of items can be frozen. If you've bought it in the store frozen, then you can freeze it yourself as well. Some things are not gonna be as great once they've been frozen, but a lot of items can be frozen and not lose their quality. If you've bought something similar to that in the store and it's been frozen, then you can always freeze it yourself. Sauces, vegetables, meats. It's best to get to it sooner rather than later. You don't want to freeze it as it's going bad, because then you're gonna pull it out and it's gonna be bad. Being proactive about it, be like, okay, well, I know how much of this I'm gonna use this week. I'm not gonna use this bit over here. I'm gonna go ahead and freeze that little bit right now. It's not gonna spoil. Food is money, right? Or even if you're not sure if you're gonna use it or not, sometimes it's good to just freeze it and then it's there if you need it. We used to get a lot of mushrooms in, and there's no way that we would go through all of them in time. So we would go ahead and freeze them. If you made a lot of stocks or soups or sauces, you can go ahead and freeze those as well. If it's something you go through a lot, like if you're making a soup or some sauces, it takes you the same amount to make 2 gallons as it does to make 1 gallon. So you can go ahead, take half of that and freeze it and pull it out when you need it the next week. Preserving and repurposing. Freezing is a form of preservation, I suppose. You can also pickle items. We pickle vegetables before they go bad. We know how much we're gonna use for the week. We're like, okay, well, I'm not gonna need this bit over here. Let's go ahead and pickle those. Pickling things will last forever. Or repurposing items. Say you're cutting a bunch of steaks, use some really nice clean scraps. You can go ahead and repurpose those. Beef tenderloin scraps, you could do like a beef medallion dish, or you could use that in a soup or something. The thing with soups is that you can repurpose anything into soup almost. Repurposing vegetable scraps into stocks is always a good thing. You can take the chain meat from a beef tenderloin or any other steaks that you cleaned and turn that into burger meat. There's all kinds of different things that you can repurpose. Just looking at your scraps and being like, hey, what can I do with that? Or having good product and finding a way to repurpose it. You can take fruit that's about to go bad and turn it into like a sorbet or an ice cream, or into some kind of fruit compote. Vegetables can be turned into soups. A lot of things can be turned into soups, really. Soups are kind of a catch-all when it comes to repurposing things. Dehydrate fruit and vegetables. Seasonality. With seasonality, you get generally better prices, better taste, better freshness. If an item is in season, then it's kind of at its peak, it's at its natural time for being grown and harvested. You generally get a better price, better taste, better freshness, and that'll give you some variety in your menu as well. Knowing your customers' likes and dislikes. If you're putting out dishes that your customers don't like and they're not ordering it, then you're just wasting their time and your money. Knowing your customer and what they like is very key into making them both happy and helping your bottom line. If you're wasting a certain item on plates, that kind of goes back to watching what comes back from the kitchen and is thrown away. If you know that they're not even touching an item, then you might as well not be putting that item on there. If you see that they don't like the lentil soup, then you should probably stop serving lentil soup. So if you know that they like certain dishes like chicken fried steak, then I would be serving more of that chicken fried steak. Knowing what your client likes will help both save money and help increase your sales. Knowing what your food cost percent is. You're gonna need to know what your food cost percent is if you're gonna wanna improve your food cost percent. So continuously tracking it and using it as a tool to see if what you're doing is improving. If you've known that you've had a really crummy food percent for a while and you've been tracking it and you generally see improvements in it, then you know what you're doing is working. It'll let you know if you need to take more drastic measures, like what I'm doing is not working. If you wanna help improve your food cost percent, you're gonna need to know what your food cost percent is and continuously track it. Well, I hope that sheds some light on how to improve your food cost percent. If there's any ideas that you have that I didn't touch on, please leave it down in the comments. I hope you enjoyed the video. Please like and subscribe, and thank you very much.